Hi, welcome. In this video, this is part 6 of my breakdown series talking about the core ingredients by way of influence and control as it relates to a process. And again, putting this series out, continuing this series on Rumble. So I'd encourage you to follow me on my Rumble channel as I continue to talk through what represents a process and how to come out on the other side of a process by way of a predictable, intentional outcome, by way of a real picture change and not a counterfeit. And again, talk about some of the themes here in terms of even trainers such as Kevin Murdoch, this big rush to get a dog off leash. Like, what's the focus on? Like, keep talking about off leash, off leash, off leash. But again, my challenge is, well, like, yes, trainers want to see dogs off leash, but is that really just by default? Does that automatically represent that when you see a dog off leash, that represents a real picture of change? I mean, think about that. And even at the level I talked about in the last video, how much of the issue about attachment, that connection, how much is based on possessiveness and actually the perception of the dogs aligned properly? This is the thing that to consider when you hear trainers going on about certain things. And so again, one of his objections is talking about, well, why don't I see any off-leash dogs, on Dale's channel? Because that's not my focus. That's not my primary focus. It's about a real picture. And so that's just going to happen in a certain period of time. But my investment levels with, if you watch my, channel, if you, especially the board and train videos, it's about the right conversation. That's going to be the bulk of what's happening because I understand, what needs to happen for real picture change to take place. And so I could have a dog off leash in, 2 hours with tossing treats around. But that is a total disservice and a shim sham thing to be doing if you know that that picture and those responses aren't going to line up. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you like, really? What are you doing? It's just superficial. I understand the entire dog training world is based on that, on appearances that way. So this whole series kind of generated from the question of from a trainer I received, Mark DeBose, talking about how do you know the fake from the phony in terms of a picture. Well, this is a great series because I'm talking through all this. And so not just, again, some of these trainers like, in terms of Kevin Murdoch, if you look at his comment, he takes everything, tries to spin stuff and take things out of context. Well, I'm going to talk through everything so people get the right information so they can have a right picture, a proper, a presentation of what represents training itself. So again, working off this video you put out, tag me on it. So again, I'm going to respond to it, but I'm going to respond to it at length. I'm going to respond to it properly. And so my encouragement, anyone watching this, is understand that this is all about, getting to a real picture of change. It's not just about going off leash and then making assumptions on dogs. You see, that's the problem. This is what really the reason this whole back and forth with Kevin Murdoch at the point it broke down. I had him on my podcast. Well, ask the question, where did that whole thing break down? You can go watch all those videos. I left them on my YouTube channel, but you'll see where it broke down when you get into this issue about the leash, the point of connection, the contention he has with even the reactions based on what I'm doing, reactions to some of these dogs going into a challenged state. I talk about being able to reconcile the reaction to the relationship properly, right? So it is a type of power play. But all the things he talks about here, you can see that open door. Okay, you can see that kind of release point where he's just like, and it doesn't hold together. Right? Talk about the glue that holds everything together. That's not what's going on here. Because this should be being dialed in properly. But this comes to asking the right questions at the beginning. But here's the thing that these trainers should be motivated, you would think, to look around the dog training community and say, why is the dog training world such a mess? But I find it interesting that instead of doing any of that, they want to try to come after what I'm saying, right? Because what are they doing? They're not, it's like they can't stand it or something. I don't understand. Like, it's like, just move on, like, move on. Like, he goes on about this beef that him and I are having. He says about, well, I'm not the one putting all these comments out. on his comment section and trying to take things out of context, certain things, to try to score, personal points. He talks about the question of the century here. So here again, talking about the off-leash picture change, understanding there is a process. So let's play some more of this to see what Murdoch has to say about his about the core ingredients, about how he sees going off-leash with his dog.
This is like a mental leash that I have with Goose. I control her, but I don't need to micromanage everything she.
See, so you get this whole thing about mental leash. What the heck does that mean? Okay, it is about it's about establishing at the beginning. Again, think of it in terms of the point of connection, a personal conversation, being in close proximity. Okay, how that ties in for a period of time, that level of engagement. Just like when you discover, and again, this, understand this whole thing about a relationship problem, even in terms of I use the parenting child example, once a child has become selfish, having that epiphany moment, it's how you're engaging. It's not about, micromanaging, but here's the thing. Because this is the whole thing. So you use this language, this type of almost inflammatory language. These trainers will say certain words, very Zach George like. Okay, you go on social media, you'll see a lot of these trainers who are aligned to this kind of bribery, type of ideology, or this type of a process here. It's kind of quasi Caesarman like, that doesn't align the way I talk about the integrity of that. The issue in terms of how, okay, how they reconcile this, how they talk about it in a way in which, they use certain language like micromanaging, right? They bring that negativity in to talk about, oh, I don't, because they're not power playing it the way I talk about. When I talk about power play, they're not bringing it into alignment to that right conversation, which makes all the difference in the world. Okay, there's your starting point, right? So he's talking about you don't have to micromanage. Well, that's that type of language that starts to kind of appear, as they talk about, they frame this up, but it's out of context.
Does, because it's not fucking necessary. She's earned her freedom.
So he's not effing, and then he's starts using, getting more, right, more contentious, right? It's like, well, what are you getting upset about? Like, what do you, why are you starting to cuss and go on, about stuff, right? It's like he's upset, right? What are you upset about? Like everything I say, you can put to the test. So it's just like this whole thing with it's that type of thing, right? It's like being challenged, saying, okay, what are you upset about? Have you ever put anything to the? Have you actually walked this back and actually asked questions and put anything to the test?
So therefore, I am in control.
He's in control. Based on what? At what level? Again, the question still holds true. It's like, how, in terms of that level of connection, how much is possessive attachment and how much is truly the perceptions changed in the right way? Like, how do you know? Like, see that question is just hang out there, right? Because he's not brought it into that level. Because it is about being intentional, right? It's about how those core ingredients align.
I'm in the driver's seat. Really appreciate everybody's liked the video.
And so he's in the driver's seat. But I had the same thing. I had a lady show up here a while ago now, and she was like, she had a service dog. I didn't, I never trained her dog at that point. So she had this service dog that she had trained, and she came to me for like an assessment, and she asked the question. She said, Dale, or she was saying, Dale, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, my dog seems, good, like doing the sit and the down, and like certain moments like seem fantastic, but like a nightmare in other situations. And I said, so you think the dog looks pretty good? Show me what that looks like. And so she had the dog beside her on the leash in the heel type of, position. And so she's like telling the dog down, sit, and the dog's popping up, but going real fast. Like the dog's just moving fast. So I'm looking at that and say, so you think that looks okay? Oh yeah, yeah. And she's not, I say, okay, we're going to do it my way. We're going to add the core ingredients in here. We're going to take a little bit, add just a little bit of more control here, okay? And you're going to touch your dog. So when your dog goes into the sit, I want you to touch, kind of direct the dog down into that sit position, start to express a level of control of your dog. As soon as she did that, that dog went crazy. That dog jumped up and twisted, turned, and flailed all over the leash. She could barely control the dog. She goes, I don't understand what's happened. I don't understand what's happened. So I'll tell you what's happened. That dog was moving faster, knowing and anticipating you trying to bring the dog under control. So you had the responses, but the dogs aren't stupid. The dog didn't want that. But then you connect the dots, right? So it's about, and here's the thing, you can see those videos, they're public videos, they're on my YouTube channel, that moment. I actually put those couple moments in there showing that, right? But you have to apply critical thinking, like, okay, what's going on? So it's about, right? It's about who's in control, right? So here he's saying, oh, he's got control based on what, right? I mean, think about that. I mean, you have to think about things, but it's about context here.
Video, thank you. Appreciate everybody who's joined. Thank you so much. Dale, if you're watching,
Oh, I'm watching.
just want to say hello. I hope you learned something today.
Okay, so here he's saying I learned. No, I hope, if he's watching these videos, right? There's lots to learn, right? I haven't learned anything except for the fact that, the jumping in point isn't right. Okay, I've learned that he's saying a lot of the same stuff a lot of other trainers are saying, and so there's nothing new here at all. He's not offering anything I haven't seen before. Nothing. I mean, I had a guy. Same thing. Guy in the United Kingdom that came to me for help. Of course, doing the FaceTime consults. But he had training his dog for sport, and he had intentions of getting his dog up to a really high level. And same thing. He's like, Dale, I don't understand when I'm off leash, right? When I'm walking my dog, the dog seems fantastic, like going down, doing the sit, doing all this stuff. I said, okay, show me what that, send me the video. I want to see what that looks like. So he's out with his boots on. He's out in the field over in the UK and walking this dog through the field, going pretty fast. Walking, the dog goes into a dance, looks like from appearances, right, from the surface, it's like here, right? Looks great, okay, but same thing. But I got something's wrong here. I got some problems going on. Seems to be some issues happening. And I said, okay, I want you to do, and same criteria. I said, next video, I want you to put the dog on a leash. And I want you to line this up. I told him how to do it, intent, the dog understanding, everything, so lined up the right way. Yeah, I want you to send me a video of that because I want to see it. Same thing, sends me a video, and Dale, it was a mess. It was a mess. Dog flailing around, and she said same thing. Well, yeah, I said that looked good. In fact, you were moving faster, right? So walking fast, right? The dog looked great. Control, same thing, right? As soon as you start to, again, bring it into an issue about, the right conversation, right? Through the interactions, right? But then it all made sense to him. I said, Dale, this makes complete sense. But at a certain point, and the same thing, that situation there. And this serves as a great illustration because that story, how that story went down, was at a certain point, as we're talking. So I was shifting the focus more on him, not the dog is the problem, right? On him. But after a few sessions, you could tell he was just struggling, right? And then he goes to, goes to a different trainer over in the UK. And I kind of checked in, and this trainer took him on a board, took the dog on the board train. It's the same thing, it's that drive-based type of training. And, when I would check in once in a while, not with him directly, but this other guy's putting up the videos about his dog and taking his dog for a month, but never achieved that level. Okay, never got that dog up there because it all fell to pieces. Because it's same thing. It's the dog appeared to be doing better with the trainer, of course, more influence and control happening. But the trainer's idea of things was the same thing, not using the leash a certain way and off leash and all this stuff. That dog could never get to that level because, again, but it's like where the breakdown happened. Because understand this is hard, right? This is like saying, hey, you're the one that has to, you know, go on that journey. It can be the hardest thing ever, but it's you that has to do it. So that's where the breakdown happens. So off leash again. You look good to a certain level, wasn't. See, that's the thing about, what's the criteria? How you frame this up? It's interesting that Murdoch there got all kind of upset talking about micromanagement. I don't effing have to use what's that about? It's not like I show the whole process. You look at the 2-week board training. Every day I'm putting out videos like sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. I show that you see the change happening every day with the leash, here's the way I use it, with all that. But they don't want to, that's the thing. It's like when trainers go into with a certain mindset and they go into things, it's not like they're starting off from a level thing where they're not indoctrinated. Okay, they're already indoctrinated into their idea. They're already selling this. They already got their videos up. They're already selling this. Guys like Murdoch. What do you expect? I mean, it's going to be this defensive, upset. There's nothing to be upset about, right? You can put everything I say to the test. So why are you getting upset? I'll tell you why. Because it's not what they want to hear, right? They want just people to elevate them and say, well, oh, okay, what do you want me to say? Oh, dog training world's fine. It's like there's no problems and you're great. Look, you're amazing. I mean, that's right? Not going to say it. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's like then a lot of times these trainers know there's problems. They just don't want it. So it's like just be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with what you're doing. Be honest and just walk it back. You make the trade-off. So thanks for watching. I'm going to do another part here soon on Rumble. Check it out.